She married him, but never loved him. Forced by her parents, she mocked his job as a barber and left him with 2 daughters. Everyone thought he'd fall apart, but what he did next shook the whole village. Years later, the woman who broke him returned, but this time, she came begging. And what happened next will leave you speechless. In the small, dusty town of Itoko, nestled in rural Nigeria, lived a humble barber named Tajudeen Omotala, known to locals simply as Toju. He was a quiet, respectful man, known for his honesty and the small wooden shop he ran beside the main road. Though uneducated, Toju possessed wisdom shaped by hardship. Often at 12, he had raised himself on the streets, learning to cut hair from a generous old barber who had taken him in like a son. When Toju met Motunrayo Adigok, the daughter of a wealthy cocoa merchant from the neighboring town of Ikaran, he fell hopelessly in love. Motunrayo, a stunning beauty with light skin and intelligent eyes, came from privilege. She had studied briefly in Lagos and had big dreams of a husband who wore suits, carried briefcases, and held office jobs. But when her father discovered her secret love for Bayo, a reckless, jobless man who often stirred trouble, he forbade the relationship. In a bid to protect the family name and reputation, Motunrayo's father arranged her marriage to Toju, believing him to be a man of dignity and humility, though lacking wealth. Toju, blinded by love, believed it was fate. Their marriage was celebrated quietly, and for a moment, the village whispered in envy of Toju's luck. But behind closed doors, it was a cold war. Motunrayo never let him forget he was beneath her. She mocked his shop, his calloused hands, and his lack of education. "You cut hair like a servant while real men sit in offices," she would hiss. But Toju endured. He built her a small, decent house and even stopped eating meat just to save money for her desires. He hoped, naively, that love could grow from sacrifice. A year into the marriage, Motunrayo gave birth to twin girls, Namina and Adoni. Everyone expected motherhood to melt her heart, to bind her to Toju. But if anything, it hardened her. She resented the children, seeing them as chains that tied her to a life she never chose. Then her father died. With no one to control her, Motunrayo's disdain grew bolder. She began leaving the house for days, claiming she needed space. Toju pretended not to notice the strange men who now hovered around her. One afternoon, a minor argument over boiled water escalated. Motunrayo packed her things, stormed out, and never returned, not even for her daughters. Toju was shattered. He begged. He cried. But Motunrayo's heart had long fled with Bayo, whom she reunited with in the city. Now alone with his baby girls, Toju closed his shop one final time. He sold everything, his clippers, his mirror, even his small generator. He deposited every last naira into an education trust for his daughters and enrolled them in a girls' boarding school in Ibadan. He couldn't raise them alone, but he would make sure they never needed anything. The village mocked him. "You sold your only source of income for daughters born to a betrayer," his uncle spat. "They'll leave you just like their mother." But Toju remained silent. He began working as a farm laborer, sometimes digging wells. The sun aged him faster than years ever could. He developed chest pains, coughed blood, but never told anyone. His only joy came in the form of letters from his girls, neatly written, filled with hope. He never understood the words, but he kissed each one before hiding them under his mattress. 15 years passed like a breath in the dry Harmattan wind. Amina and Adoni, now elegant and confident, returned to Itoko in official SUVs, escorted by security. The village gathered in disbelief. These were the twin girls whose mother had vanished and whose father had once begged for youth school uniforms. Amina had become an assistant commissioner of police. Adoni was a state administrative secretary for the Ministry of Education. Their first stop was to see their father. Toju was now frail, bent like a broken tree, coughing constantly. When he saw them, his lips trembled, and tears spilled down his cheeks. "My daughters," he croaked, you made me proud. They held him like a fragile treasure. And for once, the village was silent, not out of shame, but awe. The very people who had jeered at Toju's sacrifices now bowed, murmuring prayers of envy and regret. But far away, in the slums of Ibadan, Motunrayo was paying a heavy price. Bayo had turned abusive. He was a drug addict who beat her, starved her, and made her clean houses for food. She was gaunt, bruised, and broken, a shadow of her former beauty. Her regret was a ghost that haunted every corner of her soul. One day, a neighbor reported a domestic abuse case involving a woman in her late 30s, starved, drugged, and covered in bruises. Assistant Commissioner Amina took the case herself, unaware that destiny was about to bring her face to face with her mother. At the station, Amina stared at the disheveled woman in front of her. There was something hauntingly familiar in the shape of her eyes, in the rhythm of her voice. She felt a chill. "What's your name?" she asked. "Motunrayo Adigok," came the whisper, shame clinging to every syllable. The name hit Amina like lightning. She froze. For a moment, time stopped. She took her home, more out of a hunch than compassion. When they arrived, Toju stepped out and dropped a food tray in his hands. His face turned pale, and tears spilled uncontrollably. "Motunrayo." The woman collapsed to her knees. "Toju, forgive me, please. I was wrong. I destroyed everything." Adoni stormed out of her room, shocked. "You're our mother." The sisters were torn. Anger boiled in their hearts. But their father raised a trembling hand. "If I could raise you both with love despite the pain, then this woman, who gave you life, deserves grace." His words hung in the air like sacred scripture. Motunrayo, unable to meet her daughter's eyes, wept for days. She told them everything, how her pride blinded her, how Bayo ruined her, how she dreamt of their faces every night and wondered what they'd become. "I didn't think Toju would make it," she said, "but he's the strongest man I've ever known." The daughters couldn't deny the ache in their hearts. They had longed for a mother, even if only in bedtime stories. Eventually, they decided to forgive, but never forget. Years passed. Motunrayo remained in the house, helping with chores, serving her husband quietly, humbly. She never touched drugs again. She often stood outside the shop Toju rebuilt, sweeping the steps, welcoming clients with a gentle smile. One day, a reporter from a national newspaper visited. The headline the next day read, "A barber's love raised two queens, the man who lost everything but gained the world." Toju never remarried. When he died peacefully in his sleep, his daughters buried him beside the mango tree he once planted for them. At the funeral, Motunrayo whispered, "He never stopped loving me, even when I was unlovable." What kind of man does that? The answer: a real man. A man who proved that love, when rooted in sacrifice, can outlive betrayal. Would you forgive or walk away? Let us know in the comments.